Dale a tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, que tu cuerpo es para dar la alegría y cosas buenas. Dale a tu cuerpo alegría Macarena, Macarena.
Hello everyone and welcome to not Overwatch, or more accurately Divinity Original Sin 2, or even perhaps more accurately one of the best goddamn RPGs and maybe games that I have played. For those of you that know me, I'll say this: I am enjoying this as much as The Witcher. Yeah, so where to begin? This is an incredibly detailed, rich and expansive game. You can play this for hundreds of hours, so I will try my best to give at least a little bit of a snippet into what it's all about. So where better to start than character creation, right? Which is instantly going to give us, I think, a lesson of the human condition. The male dwarf wants his knife. The female dwarf wants to hand you her knife. What does it mean? I don't know. It's really sad that I find that so funny. I'm so sorry. So, character creator we're starting, because obviously it's important, right? Your character, you connect to it in a world where you're supposed to get so immersed in the 80,000 voiced lines, the story, and, well, the relative realism, D&D-esqueness. You gotta care about your character. So you can play as a dwarf, fairly normal. You can play as an elf, initially fairly normal, except they are memory-stealing cannibals that look all gangly and alien. Yeah, let that sink in. You've got your classic humans, because of course you do, and you also have my favourite, the lizard race. How cool is that? It's just really, well, neat, isn't it? It's so clearly not just human with scales, like often fantasy races like this are. It's got its own distinct skeletal structure, its own gait, its own form. It's really, really cool. And each of these races has their own backgrounds and everything, and if you take the time, you can really get into it. The males are closer to humans, but they're still fantastic. You can change appearances somewhat. It's not the best character creator in the world, but really when we get in game, you'll see it's just not the focus. You have various classes, but again, these are just starting focuses. You can end up doing anything and everything. You don't have to stick even slightly to what you choose here. And look at this, by the way, the enchanter armor on the lizard. And yes, every race has their own distinct style of armor. So we've got it as like furry robes on the human, but the lizard likes a more bone approach, which I find is really cool. And you can play as undead. Now, I don't want to spend too long on the character creator, but it's difficult not to, you know? You could play as freaking undead. Now, the world at large isn't a big fan of the undead, so it's very difficult to be one. You have to hide your face, you have to be a little bit sneakier, you will just get attacked on sight if you let people see your true skeletal form. At least most people. And it's, you know, it's very much difficult going through the world of Divinity like this, but it adds a really cool layer that honestly I've not seen another game do ever. You also have these preset characters with their own backstories that you can choose to play as if you don't want to go with your own. Otherwise, you'll see them in-game as NPCs that you can party with and do various things with. So hopefully I've got a quick little TLDR of where we're beginning here. And as I said at the beginning, it's very D&D. You choose your talents, you have your attributes, and you've got yourself all of your ability categories down here. And it's just all stuff that you can get into, but I don't want to bog you down instantly. Hell, you can even choose which frickin' instrument takes the lead when you're in combat. So, I am gonna make a character, get into game, and I will show you what is up. So here we are in game, and our character has woken up on a ship, and, well, we're a little bit in a sticky situation. We have been quite literally collared, we are a prisoner, and we have been transported to somewhere we're going to spend the rest of our miserable lives rotting away in languishing agony. So all in all, a 2-star package holiday. So, what... Who's gonna be watching this going, oh yeah, you know, all my experiences with package holidays, you're not wrong there, that's a funny joke. I mean, know your audience, Jesus Christ, okay. Oh God damn it. So initially, right, we're going to talk about how it looks, and it's not, you know, it's nothing amazing. It's not going to blow you away with graphic fidelity, but at the same time, it's very pretty, you know. It's got a really nice solid aesthetic running through it, and everything does just look nice. But what looks the nicest is the casting animations. They are so beautiful, and I love, absolutely love good casting animations. I mean, look at that. And you start with this, and we've got our electricity, zap. Oh, it's fantastic. And then we can encourage everyone with a yay. I love it. And this is obviously our starting character. Now, I don't want to go too spoilery, and also, if you've played Divinity 1, a lot of what I'm going to tell you is not going to be any kind of new revelation, but for those of you who have played the first one or are unsure if they want to get the second one, do. It's just better in every way, and it's, yes, just freaking do it. It's improved and it's awesome. So one of the key aspects of the game is how things interact with each other, and this applies more than just combat and more than just stuff on the floor, but the easiest way I can show this in a very microcosm nutshell is there is water on the floor. I cast electricity at the water's now electrified, so if somebody walks on it, they end up getting shocked and eventually stunned. And really, that little demonstration is the philosophy of the game that permeates throughout. You can think about things really outside of the box. You don't have to just fight your way to victory every single time. But let's say you want to do that, right? I mean, normally in a game, you'd walk up to this NPC, you'd find out why you're captured, what's going on with that. But let's say we're just not in that kind of mood, you know? Let's say we're not really feeling it. So what we're going to do is cast some rain, you know, lovely innocent rain. We're just making it rain, you know, don't mind me, don't mind me. We're going to preemptively buff ourselves up, and then we are going to electrocute her. There we go. Alright, we kicked her in the shin. So now we are in combat, and the game very seamlessly transitions from exploring the world and doing things in real time to a really elegant and well thought out combat system. So it basically works on AP, and things cost AP to do. So I'm going to use 2 AP to move away from my enemy and go here. So now I'm no longer stood on this watery surface. I can wait for my discharge to become available, which is a great sentence, and then I can shock it, sending current all the way up here to attack her. So for now, I'm simply just going to buff myself up and then end my turn. So it's now going to be her turn, and she has fired her electric wands at me and electrocuted the floor herself, which saves me a little bit of effort. So we did it. We killed her with frost, so her corpse is frozen, and there we go. And we walk out here, and lo and behold, there's been a murder!
An ugly sight, isn't it?
So we can talk to them, and there's various different options. Obviously, this is very D&D-esque. There's a narrator that gives you context and story of what's going on, and while you obviously can't say literally anything, because you can't have an infinite array of choices, there is a really nice variety of options here. You can really go with your character as you would like, and there are a lot of peaceful ways, persuasion, and all of that jazz to do things, which is really quite cool. So what I'm going to do now, instead of starting from, you know, the very beginning of the game like this, I'm going to load a save that's a couple hours from now, nowhere near where I currently am in the game, but we're going to jump forward and have a combat scenario that's a little bit more, let's say, intense. So here we are then, in the dungeons of Fort Joy. Fort Joy being the place that I was being taken on that boat. And over here, I've got into a little bit of a scrap with some magisters. That's the order that has taken me prisoner, and they want me prisoner because I can innately cast magic using Source, a magical force in this world that when you use it tends to, well, bring a lot of destruction, and they don't don't really like that. So they're effectively rounding every single person up who can use Source and locking them away forever. So this game definitely has a lot of dark tones to it, and you will notice that throughout. There are a lot of really sad things. You can get a talent, by the way, that lets you talk to animals, and you can find a dog that is being trained against its will to crave the flesh of Source users so they can use it to sick it on people. And that is heartbreaking because the dog itself asks you to put it down because it doesn't want to hurt anyone. It's really sad. So here, down in the dungeons, there is a Magister that is actually not too bad of a person. He's been trying to help us escape, but he got caught and he was being interrogated by this Houndmaster dude. And what's going on here then is you see these 3 oil barrels filled with oil, classic quality commentary here at Rage Gaming. And what I did is I went round the map, found 3 of these barrels and placed them at this bottleneck. I then fired a spell to get these guys all mad at me to lure them into this bottleneck so that I can use my Lizard Pyromancer character. And I'm going to use a spell, Searing Daggers, which lets me throw 3 fiery blades at my enemies, or in this case, at the oil barrel. And you can really do lots of stuff like this, and it lets you really be creative in how you approach combat. So this is a pool of poison as well, which is also rather flammable in this world. So, boom! You lure them into the trap, you set them all on fire, and you, well, tell them to come at me. So then I'm going to use my ignition, which is going to do a little bit more damage to that one. And this right here is still only level 3, by the way. Like, the combat really gets higher. So I've got a rogue over here waiting to strike. I've got a warrior in the room off. It's, you know, the best way I could think to tactically start this one going. And then I'm going to haste myself so I can move further in my turns and then go a little bit further back, just so they have longer to run. Because the thing is, every single step they take in the fire does damage to them, eats through their magic armor, then sets them on fire and starts to melt their health. Because this was the only way I could think to do this, because they are a lot stronger than we are. I had to kill these guys to help this guy out, because no matter what I tried, I couldn't find a non-combat way to do it, though I've since looked it up and there is one. I just missed it, because this game really doesn't hold you hand. You have to think, you have to go through your journals, read what you learn from various NPCs, from finding various clues, and try and actually work out solutions to things. And it's very rewarding when you do, but I was a little bit of a moron when it came to this one, unfortunately. So what I'm going to do on this character is run her forward and, oh, a little bit out of range. If I can just go a tiny bit closer, then we're going to teleport and backstab this guy and start working on his armor just a little bit. But then I will also inspire the troops, as it were. We did have a 4th party member here who got murdered in a corner by the dog, because basically this guy was the sacrifice to pull them all into this trap. And, you know, you gotta make hard decisions when it comes to this. So, this guy over here is a classic dwarven warrior type. So what he can do is use this battle stomp, which will of course hit all 3 of these guys, as you can see from the telegraph, but it also puts out fire because of the wind pressure. So we don't necessarily, right, want to have that happen, because we don't want them to be out of the fire just yet. So I'm going to run him there and have him, well, I kind of set him on fire, but that's fine. Look, this is a very difficult fight, and it's not something that I really should have been trying. But then what I can do now is punch this guy in the back, knock him down, and really make him a non-factor. So the Houndmaster himself is coming for me, giving me a quick slash over there. And I am on the hardest difficulty that isn't a if you lose once, game over, restart your game. It's Tactician difficulty, and I cannot exaggerate enough how much of not just an option to fight creatively like this it it is, but a requirement. If you don't get clever with how you operate your combat, if you don't really try your best to really exploit, well, not so much exploit, honestly, it just is use everything in your power to beat your enemies, you're gonna find yourself dead a lot of the time. I mean, this fight right here, spoiler alert, I am not going to be winning it. I am really not, but it's very much a cool way to show you just how overwhelming everything can be when you try and bite off a little bit more than you can chew. I'm going to use my lizard racial here, which lets me summon a bit of dragon fire, just to honestly extend the distance they have to run to get to me. And here we go, the archer guy is coming. Fortunately, he can't reach me with an attack just this turn. So what I'm going to do is turn this archer into a chicken, which I think is pretty good. There's a whole polymorph school of magic. You can, like, sprout rings. Rings? Yes, you can sprout rings and propose to whoever you like. It's very romantic. No, you can sprout wings and fly. You can sprout Medusa snakes on your head and petrify people. There's some really creative magic that all has out-of-combat applications as well, which is really fantastic. So we're not in the best of situations here where, ooh, I can. So I'm going to go a little bit closer to this guy, give him a little bit of a punch, which will knock him down, get a little bit of an extra CC, and then for my final AP point, I'm going to use my Scroll of Restoration to give a little bit of healing to my dwarf friend. Because this guy's turned into a chicken, he runs around madly, and he's in a field of fire, which is very good for me. So you see how everything really interconnects when you think about what's happening, and it's just so satisfying, and at the same time you will find it ends up being incredibly frustrating too, because you'll end up in a situation where it takes hours and hours to beat just a single combat encounter, but then you also end up finding it incredibly satisfying because of that fact. So it's very much a worthy trade-off to play on this difficulty. The dog is on 2 health, which is very good for me, but now we've reached the point in the fight where unfortunately the fire has run out, and I also just fired my own daggers at myself because I am a moron. However, it's looking not actually too super horrible here. He's out of chicken, but he's quite far away. This guy's on fire. Oh, knocked me down with a knockout arrow. That is not good. And then he's using some first aid, which is going to get rid of his fire and healing. And oh god, everything so suddenly goes to hell. The dwarf is dead. The dwarf is dead. Just stab him twice and then punch him in the back, but he's got armor left, so it's not going to knock him down. This guy's still burning, and when it comes down to it, we got close, but as you can see, it's also oh so far. Goodbye, sweet prince. Goodbye. And it really is that easy. So let me go a little bit more forward in time for the final piece of this and show you a little bit more up-to-date stuff with this game. So once more into the fray we dive headlong with reckless abandon for our own personal safety, otherwise known as here's part 3 of this video. I just wanted to do it with a little bit of enthusiasm, you know? I mean, a lot of things are made better when you do it a little bit more enthusiastically. It's like, hi, honey, you want to go shopping? Because people speak like that. And, you know, instead of that, you could be like, ah, fair wench, dost thou want to join me in an expedition to acquire the sustenance we need to survive? You know, it really just enriches your life. Try it, alright? Try it. The next person you see, try it. So as you saw just then, we killed some crocodiles. One of those crocodiles ate some gloves that grant you the power to teleport things. And I do mean things as in anything. And by the way, the little black aura and orbs that it summons for this kind of magic is so nice. But this skill is such a good little microcosm of what's so great about this game, because it lets you be so creative. It really does. I mean, you can do cool stuff like just moving things around. And for example, if I was trying to fight someone in this tent, I'm ranged, so I would go and put these barrels in front of the tent and it would physically block him off. So that's fantastic, but I again, it's so D&D. You know, when you're playing D&D or you hear those stories and the DM's like, well, what would you like to do? And you go, how about I try this? And everyone's like, what are you what the fuck? You know, those weird just suggestions and, you know, basically something you could do in real life in that situation, not bound by game limitations. That's the appeal of D&D. This game is the closest you can get to that while still having banging visuals, you know, and that's what I like. So this teleport then, let's say if I wanted that stool over there, doesn't do anything for me, but you know, there we go. I can take that stool over there and then like, what? Leave that ball stool alone. They're not a fan of that. And yes, I can teleport people, and let's say I see a chest that's out of reach, I can teleport it to me. You know, I don't care about solving the puzzle and how to get to it, I'm just gonna bring it to me. So this right here is the prison. It's this kind of abandoned castle on an island, and basically the prisoners are allowed to do whatever they want. They don't really care. As long as they're on the island, they can kill each other, steal from each other, it's fine. Just don't cause too much of a problem for the Magisters, which live in this castle. So what you can do, this ladder is normally not here, you have to find a way to escape, right? That's your primary directive here, and there are so many ways to do that. Here on the escape, we've found so many different clues of so many different threads. You can go with a Magister conspiracy, whereby some of the more lenient ones are helping prisoners escape because they feel sorry. You can find a long-lost band of elves, and by helping free one of them from this ruthless gang boss amongst the prisoners, by going on a little bit of a Sherlock Holmes-esque adventure to find missing citrus fruit, which then leads you to a story between an elf and a lizard, and a hateful vengeance as you side with one or the other, and it basically leads to a bloody resolution, and it just, there's layers upon layers everywhere, and you have to figure out a way to go. Now, you can technically get to the edge of the camp and just teleport yourself out. It really is that simple. But there are also a huge cave network underground. You saw a bit of the jail cells in the previous bit. Well, you can go even deeper and eventually end up in a back route to get into here. This is the bedroom of the main Magister, the judge, who's over in this room. And what you can do in this game is sneak. I mean, you'd expect to be able to sneak, but you basically put on an environment appropriate prop, and it's just, I mean, look at it, right? It really rocks. The light red is if I wasn't in sneak mode they would see me. The dark red is they'd see me whatever I choose to do, and it's just fantastic, right? And yes, you can totally climb down a freaking ladder while in rock form. It's kind of a little bit out of place with the more serious tone of the rest of the world, but at the same time, it's just, it works. It's just really, really amusing, and I love it. I really do. So right here is the pathway down into the holding cells. So you can find your way into these holding cells from a hidden tunnel that you discover by helping someone cure themselves from an insatiable hunger for flesh. There's all sorts, and this is just effectively the tutorial island, and you go up in here and you're now kind of actually in the main Magister's area, and you've got to decide what to do with this, because obviously if you get seen you are in a lot of trouble. So you start to sneak around the place, see what kind of shenanigans you can get up to. You've got the High Judge here, and flanked by mages and guards. It's a dangerous place to be for a young, thriving barrel. But all of the many options to leave this place are, of which there are like maybe 10 different ways to escape this. If you are just a curious fellow and decide to go over here, and as you can see there's no red on the floor, so I am safe to just run for now. Gotta keep checking, don't want to accidentally get seen. But if you are just a curious little person and decide to simply sneak over here, which you could do almost instantly with no investment into the characters or anything, there is of course just a freaking crate that if you move out the way, you can, let me move it on top of there, you can just walk out of here and escape as easily as that onto the main part of the island. It's just such a kick yourself moment that I absolutely love, right? Like, you go through so much effort helping and hindering so many people, so many conspiracy plot threads, only to find out that something you could have done is just sneak over there and move a fucking crate. And that's this game in a nutshell. It's D&D. There are so many ways to do things, so much to explore, so much equipment to find with loads of unique effects, so many awesome spells that can be used in creative ways. Because what if I just wanted to take this guy and move him over there? You know, fuck that guy. He can go over there, right? He can now stand there. I can do that because why not? And it's really satisfying. Oh, there's been an attack on the area. What do you know about it? I don't know anything about it. Okay. So, I could play the race card, which is obviously okay. Let's go with that. Oh, no. This guy is a really powerful... Yep, he just immediately one-shot me, but oh my god. So this right here is almost where I am in the game. I'm only about a couple hours behind now, and as you can see, I look very much a lot cooler. I've got a fancy Magister's robe. I liberated from a corpse I swear was already a corpse when I got there. Don't judge me. I can do things now like just straight explode outwards. I kind of... That was fantastic, but the main reason I brought you here is I've dabbled in a third school of magic, summoning, and I can summon a little elementally thing to help out, and depending on the surface that I summon this guy, he changes the type of elemental he is, which is just a really nice touch, right? So depending on the combat need, I can bring forth a different type of helper to, well, help. And I think that's really fantastic. So this is just before a boss fight that I won't spoil or anything, but it is seriously cool and freaking difficult. You have no idea, my word. But it was satisfying to beat it, and you have the whole of the island revealed here, and loads of cool stuff happens. Again, I don't want to spoil too much, but we took about maybe 30 hours just to clear this island, which encompasses Act 1, and all I know is there are at least 4 acts, and the other acts are all a lot bigger than what is effectively the introductory part of the game. So there is a lot of content, and it really rewards you the more you get into it. The more you read your diary notes, the more you listen to the NPCs, the more you invest in the story and the world, the more you get out of it, and you can have a really fantastic time. The game controls well, is deeply beautiful, tactically awesome, and it's just a royally satisfying CRPG that I cannot recommend enough, and it's something I am really into right now. Let me know if you kind of like this, guys. I realize this is more serious, less ha ha ha. Not that my usual stuff's funny, let's be honest. I'm really talentless, but I wanted to know if you kind of like this sort of, here's a game I'm liking at the moment, here's a bit of why I've liked it, let's just have some fun. I don't know, maybe it's too long a video, but you know what, you guys supporting me on Patreon recently, it's really just made me not care, but in a good way, right? In a, this is something I think's cool, hopefully you guys do too, I'm gonna make it, because before I wouldn't have conceived of making this because of the broken mess that is YouTube, so I don't know, maybe let me know. Either way, guys, my name has been Rage, like if you've enjoyed this. Oh, I know, I can just blow myself, this doesn't... I should not have cut that sentence off there! Oh my god! Boom! I'm still alive. I am still alive. And boom! Ah! Like you enjoyed this, subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Rage gaming with the video flow, shenanigans in Overwatch, and his fans all know that every single thumbnail that this man makes without fail makes you do a double take, catching your attention with every verse. See, say that you need healing but you're at his mercy. Get it? Cause it's a pun. On his channel, that's one of the better ones. Widow is venomous, I see no end to this. Cataclysm's imminent when Rage is in his element. Pandemonium is not familiar with irrelevance. Maximum Genji beam, oh so elegant. Joke's so funny, causing you to cry. Call me as the noon is high. Yo, concussion man, shoot to the sky, cap it all off with a goodbye.